What is going on, YouTube? So coming back today with my next NBA draft scouting report. So today I have Kris Dunn. So get into some of his background information, stats, that sort of thing. So he is a 6'4", 220-pound junior from Providence, point guard from New London, Connecticut, and he has a 6'8" wingspan. So some of his stats from this past year averaged about 16.4 points per game, 5.3 rebounds, 6.2 assists. So he actually saw a dip in his field goal percentage from the 2014-2015 season, and actually saw a dip in his minutes too. I think that while some of his stats were up and down, he did actually become a more efficient, more well-rounded player this past season. He did have a very, very good 2014-2015 season, though he was up for the Naismith Award. So, yeah, that's obviously not anything to be disappointed in. So, get into some of his strengths. So, first one is he's got great size and strength for a point guard. I mean, this is obvious when you talk about a guy that's 220 pounds, 6'4", with a 6'8" wingspan at the one spot. And honestly, fits a lot of the characteristics that you would want maybe out of a two spot. Especially when it comes to size, strength, and athleticism. So, his second strength is he's quick on the drive. Like I said, he's a very athletic dude. He's really quick, and I just said he's really quick. He's really fast, and he can drive really off any offensive scheme you could want. He can roll. He can go off a pick and roll. He can go on ISO. He can be the one running the pick and roll, or he can be the one coming off of it. The one disadvantage with him on the pick and roll is that he's not the best catch and shoot type of player. So third strength is his offensive and defensive potential. This comes back to his size and athleticism. He's presented a little bit of a problem with his fundamentals on D and consistent shooting on offense, but beside that, he's shown the improvements, the overall leadership ability. He's got that it factor. I've talked about that in a couple of videos. Sometimes guys just got that it factor that just can make a team that much better, and Kris Dunn seems like the type of dude that has that. I believe he's got a 41-inch vertical, so pretty much all the measurables are there for him to become, I don't know if I would say an elite point guard, but definitely in the top half of point guards in the NBA. So, fourth strength is his playmaking ability. Now, he is a little bit wild when it comes to playmaking, but this dude's so quick, he's so big, he's so athletic that he's such a threat to always make plays. I mean, he's a great facilitator. Like I said, he can drive. He's got a very, very quick first step. He might not be the most tough in the paint. I think that's one of the areas he's really got to improve on in the NBA. But I mean, when the shooting's there and when it's consistently on, one of the things that he did improve drastically this year was his three-point shooting ability. It's just his two-pointers got a little bit inconsistent at times. But nonetheless, I think that he's definitely he might be I'd say point guard with the best playmaking ability in this draft. It's kind of a thin point guard class when you're talking about playmaking ability. And I think Kris Dunn's, I don't know about a guaranteed top 5 pick, but I think guaranteed top 8. So, get into his last strength, which he's a good defender. He's got the lateral quickness you want to be able to stay with guys step for step. He's got the wingspan to be able to cover whoever you want to at the point. He actually is I think he's pretty patient on defense. It's one thing that he definitely got better at. His steal numbers are through the roof, averaged about 2.5 steals both years for the past 2 years. He hits the glass very hard. Averaging above 5 rebounds per game as a point guard is a very, very enticing stat. So, I believe not really much in the way of blocks, 0.6 per game, so not too much to comment on there. But anyway, get into some of his weaknesses. So first one is staying in control consistently. I mentioned this, he's kind of wild sometimes, whether it's forced passes, forced drives, just unaware passes. Like I said, he's not the greatest catch and shoot player. That's something that I think has to be improved since he has a lot of experience in the pick and roll type offense, and will probably end up in a scheme like that in the NBA. So, get into his next weakness, which is consistent scoring ability. Now, there's a lot to talk about with this because he is a decent spot-up shooter when he is patient, when he sees the floor well, and when his instincts and his awareness are actually with him at the time. Like I said, a 37% three-point shooter, again, that's pretty good. Talking about 6.2 assists per game, so you got to be able to respect his ability to facilitate and pass the ball and just overall make plays. Still, a 45% field goal percentage is not the worst that I've ever seen, and I'm assuming that he's going to keep it around 45 to 47, which is what he had the last 2 years, his last 2 years in college. So I think that he's obviously just got to find the consistency there. The free throw shooting's definitely got to get better. He's shooting around 69, 70%. And for a guy that's going to get to the line 6 to 8 times a game, or at least while he was in college, that's going to be a problem. But it did improve by about 1%, so a little bit of improvement. But I think you need see a little bit more there, especially from a guy at the point guard position, a guy that likes to have the ball in his hands so much. And then the third one is just defensive fundamentals. So I mentioned this earlier, he's a good defender, but the fundamentals aren't there all the time. He's got to understand spacing sometimes. Off-ball awareness is there, but sometimes he doesn't play with the best body position, and a lot of times he gets a little bit over-aggressive and causes fouls on himself. He averaged about 3 fouls per game throughout college, which is definitely is on the higher end of players in the NBA, or players that are declaring for the draft, considering this guy didn't play as heavy in minutes as I've mentioned before, like a Ben Simmons, Brandon Ingram, Buddy Hield, those type of players. He played about 33 minutes per game, actually saw a decrease from 2014, 2015. All right, so that pretty much concludes my strengths and weaknesses. So talk about where I feel like he fits in the NBA. Now, one of the hardest things to do for Kris Dunn is making a pro comparison, because I think he's, I wouldn't say in a league of his own, but there's not many point guards that are 6'4" with a 6'8" wingspan. One player that I think he's a little bit in likeness to, when you talk about the potential, the wildness on offense, and just the overall physical tools, is Marcus Smart. I like that comparison. I think that they are similar players, and to me, I just don't, like I said, I don't know how many players have that combination of size, strength, and athleticism at the one spot. But anyway, talk about where I think he's going to fit in with an NBA team. I really like the fit with the Timberwolves. I know that I've mentioned that before and gotten a little bit of shit for it, but I just don't trust Ricky Rubio that much. Like, I don't think that Rubio's that good a point guard. I think he's extremely overrated. A few other teams that I like him as a fit with. The one that I really hope doesn't pick him up, the only one really in the top 5 that doesn't need a point guard at all, is the Boston Celtics. Now, Boston has probably a number 3, number 4 overall pick by way of a trade, but for me, the 3 best fits for Kris Dunn, actually the 4 best, not probably 3 best fits, I could see him going to either team, are the Nuggets, Pelicans, and Timberwolves. Pelicans are a little bit thin in point guard just because Drew Holiday has trouble staying healthy consistently. Obviously, if you're familiar with the Pelicans or just Drew Holiday, you know what I'm talking about. And the Nuggets they need help at the point guard position. So, like I said, that pretty much concludes this video. Actually, no, hold up. I forgot to talk about his where I think he's going to project in the NBA. I think this is actually going to be one of the favorites for Rookie of the Year when he comes in. I think he'll be kind of a low-key favorite. I think he's got massive potential to be able to put up big numbers in the NBA. I think this is a guy that can average 12 points, 6 assists, and maybe 3 rebounds per game as a rookie, which I'd say that's probably his ceiling. I'm not saying that's what he's going to get, but I've got high hopes for Kris Dunn in the NBA. All right, so that now pretty much concludes this video. I'm going to try to come back with another scouting report today. If I'm not able to, then I will be coming back with Jamal Murray tomorrow. It's another interesting one to talk about. And if you have not seen my last two, I did Torrin Prince and Dragan Bender. Or actually, no, I did Thon Maker and Dragan Bender, that's right. And both those will be in the outro. The links to those if you want to go check those out. And the link to the entire NBA Draft Scouting Report playlist, excuse me, will be in the description below. So that's pretty much it. It's the basketball overseas in Europe, or I guess China or Asia, any other part of Asia. But go ahead and get into some of his background information. So he's a 7'1", 225-pound power forward. He's 19 years old, out of the Sudan, but I believe he went to high school in Sydney, Australia.